Hi, this is Mike Hendrickson at Strata 2014 in Santa Clara. I'm here with Rich Ghiossi from Treasure.
Correct.
So, how you doing?
Great. It's been a good show.
Why has it been good for you?
It's interesting. We've had some great traffic, but we've also talked to some enlightened people, let's put it that way. People who really understand what they want to do with big data and how they're going to use it to transform their companies.
So they know why they're here.
They know and they're here for the right reason. I mean, we do find some people that are looking at it for technology, but a lot of people that I think as the industry is starting to move forward, they kind of now understand the technology. Now they're trying to figure out how to use the technology.
Well, let's tease apart a little bit about the technology and what you guys do specifically in the big data area.
Well, it's a great question, and it's exactly why our company was founded. Turned out one of our founders, spent a lot of time building Hadoop environments. And what he learned through that experience was that the value that could be created out of big data was phenomenal, and therefore big future. But the time and effort and expertise that it took to actually build one of these environments with all of its moving parts and pieces was, months to years. And he said, let's take the best of this, the way that you can create value, and put it into a SaaS model or a managed service environment so that we, Treasure, can take on all of that responsibility, and a customer just has to worry about mining data or getting the treasure out of the data.
So is that your secret sauce then, is managing it like a managed service, or how do you get data from your partners and your customers? I mean,
I think it's two things. I think first of all, we're kind of a leading edge in terms of a managed service or a SaaS model for big data. Very few people are doing that. But the big thing, if you think about the time that it takes not only to build an existing Hadoop infrastructure or big data infrastructure, is how you get that data in. Everybody talks about the 80-20 rule, where 80% of the time is preparing the data, getting it in, etc. So part of the solution here, secret sauce as you put it, was to actually build an agent technology that we could embed in app servers and other places where we could collect logs or sensor data or whatnot and stream that into our service and actually stream it at very high speeds. We have one particular customer that's streaming 10 billion rows into our service every day.
10 billion rows a day.
10 billion with a B, yeah. So lots
and
of
new data, not replicated.
This particular one happens to be a gaming company who's looking at behavioral analysis, and they're looking at every interaction that a gamer will have with the game. So every time they go to a different level, every time they sign into or buy a different asset or traverse to another part of the game, all of those are recorded. And that becomes really important to figure out how to optimize that game, figure out how to make that game or equivalent games better. So lots of information that can be gained from that.
Interesting. So can you guys ingest just about anything? Because I know, like with machine data, there might be different kinds of things coming in. How do you handle that?
Same way. I mean, we have a number of different mechanisms, and it depends a little bit on the data. But if we look at where most of the growth is in the market in big data, it has to do with sensor data or log data or those kinds of environments. And that, our agent technology works well. At the same time, if you want to take data that's in your enterprise already and bulk load it into our environment, we can do that as well. But I think that the pace at which we can collect data and make it available to somebody, which is literally in a minute or two, for analysis, is kind of part of our secret sauce. And then, as I talked about earlier, by the way, the other thing that really makes this appealing is that from the time somebody interacts with us, because we're a SaaS type service, to the time they can actually start generating value is literally a few days, maybe a couple of weeks. So we've had lots of people in production in that kind of time frame.
So let me ask about your footprint a little bit. I know you have an operation in Japan.
Yep.
What's going on in Japan that makes them want to have a partner in this crime?
Well, it's interesting. So our two founders actually are from Japan. And they, one of the founders actually did all of the Hadoop work and built a community there. So we were kind of known there first, although it's a U.S. company and headquartered here in Mountain View. But that, because of that community, they started to learn about this ingestion technology and what we were going to do as a company in terms of building this other database infrastructure. And some of those early companies, gaming companies like Gree, We actually work with a retailer, kind of an upscale retailer called Muji, who's now actually come to the States. Started to hear about the company, and that created a kind of a real momentum within Tokyo specifically. And so we have big growth. But it's actually turned into a great business model because we now have operations, sales operations there, with lots of people do, and marketing operations, but we also have development there. So we have a split development organization. We're attracting great talent in Tokyo working in the big data space. So our development is kind of 24/7, which also helps us from a sports standpoint. Because we have a model, it turns out. Anybody that interacts with us over chat, so somebody has an issue, I can't figure out where this command is or whatnot, they can chat with us, and given that we have this 24 operation and folks in Japan, which is out of sync with us, in the States, works great. We can cover the world.
They're also probably giving you quite a bit of experience with the machine world.
They are.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, I got asked a question, I was there a couple of weeks ago and got asked about what's different from here in from a technology standpoint and a market standpoint. And I think Japan in a lot of ways, in a couple different areas, are ahead. One is telemetrics. Some of the car manufacturers are really thinking about how to use telemetrics in ways that I haven't heard here in the States. So it's interesting, to your point. There are also a lot, because of all the manufacturing and high tech and silicon that's coming out of Japan, design work, there's lots of companies thinking about how to embed sensor technology as things go forward. And we are, I think, in the tip of that kind of Internet of Things market.
We are. Well, I think we're on the steep slope.
Yeah.
Easily, yep.
I think that slope's going to last for at least 3 or 4 years.
So, Rich, if we talk next year at this time, what will you tell me that's different with where Treasure is now and where you're going to be in 12 months?
Well, 6 months ago, we were, I think, had about 1 trillion rows loaded into our service, and I think we had 60 customers. Today, we're well over 100, and we got 3 trillion rows in the service, so that's going to grow. The applications, we're doing a lot of applications today in advertising technology and gaming. We're doing a number of things with RFID information and tagging. I think you're going to see that shift to applications that are more sensor oriented. We'll still do those things, but I think we're going to do much more in RFID kinds of supply chain. And supply chain not in a traditional sense, in some really creative ways.
Robotics,
retailers,
machine,
exactly.
Yeah.
And I also think we're going to start to hear about sensor information and big data applications in markets that we've not talked about yet.
Absolutely. Rich, thank you for your time.
Nice meeting you.
Thank you.
Take care.